only way to transform your physique is only one way, is through weight training and through bodybuilding. When I started out, genetically, I had big thighs, small waist, very narrow shoulders. Winston forgot to say, when one of the things he saw, I had legs, but no upper body. I was like a bone. I weighed between 105 to 115, 110, 115, around there. My first competition, I competed. I weighed 105. I thought I was totally buff to the max, right? Sure, but it was 1983, I think. And everybody was at my level, so I was buff for that day. And the reason I won the competition, I had big legs, small waist, and a small upper body. But I used to read the magazines, and the only thing we had in Toronto was a Muscle Max shop. So we'd go down there and read Muscle and Fitness from cover to cover. And they had a competition, I think it was Miss Olympia, and one of the girls, I think, she didn't win Candy Sense, she got second in the Miss Olympia, but she had incredible abs. And I just was just so amazed at how great her abs looked. And I started training, and I wanted to compete in 6 months. So in 6 months, I can't build big muscles. So I figured in 6 months, I can get great abs. So what I used to do, Candy's workout, she used to do 1,000 reps a day on abs. And I said, well, I want to be in her place. I want to be Miss Olympia, so I have to do 2,000 reps. I used to get up in the morning, and I used to do abs. I used to go to the gym, and I used to do abs. I used to go home at night, and I used to do abs. In the morning, like I'm doing the abs, and I go, shh, shh, and I'm breathing, and pushing out, doing push-outs and all that, and breathing. My brother's all pissed off. We both lived in my mother's basement, so he was all pissed off. And at night, at 12 o'clock at night, I'm doing abs again. He gets pissed off. He finally moved out. So finally, after 6 months, I did my contest, and the reason I won, and that's what they used to call me in Montreal, the reason I won is because I had abs. I had, a little bit of legs. Arms was 9 inches, like it was bones, literally like bones. And I had the abs. So the reason I won, it was my abs. And now everyone has always called me Abby, Abby, So as I went along, I didn't put on a lot of size very fast. It took me a long time, but a lot of times the reason I won was because of my symmetry, because of, having good abs. But then after, the shoulders still needed to come up, the lats still needed to come up. When I used to look in the magazines, I was here in Toronto, and I used to look in the magazines, and everyone was at my level, and I'm going, nobody's going to come to Toronto to discover me. If I want to be a professional bodybuilder, I live, I eat, I dreamed, everything bodybuilding. I got up in the morning, I had a can of tuna, washed out, because you read the book, and it's like you have to have plain tuna. Baked potato was like a treat. So I go to work, and I was a secretary. I go to work, and I'd open my can of tuna. People come to work, it's like, something smells in here. You're smelling all the time of tuna. So, and there wasn't a lot of books. There's 2 books that I did have. I had Bill Pearl's book, Key to Bodybuilding. It's like this huge, with every single picture and every single exercise. So, first you start off and you don't know what to do, so you do like 10 exercises for triceps and 20 exercises, you just overtrained because I was so gung-ho. But as I went along and, take advice here and advice there, and, sometimes it gets very overwhelming. I did my very first competition after 6 months of training, and my diet consisted of tuna, tuna, and tuna. I never liked ice cream until I competed. And then after the contest, my diet consists of ice cream and ice cream and ice cream. So, needless to say, I went from being 105 to 115 in a couple of days. But what happens is that it became a vicious cycle. I starved, I was a good starver, and then after competition, I'd pig out, and I'd starve, and I'd pig out. And I started going to competitions and realizing every year the girls are getting bigger than me. But what I'm doing, I'm training hard, but by the time competition comes, all that hard work I did, then I'm burning all that off again. So I'm starting back from scratch all the time. So when I started, as I said, the legs were big, the upper body was small. And then you have people in the gym telling you, well, okay, you have small shoulders, you got to do this, and all this stuff. Well, for me, they didn't see where I started. I had no arms. So 1 year later, the arms was a little bigger. The next year, they were a little bigger. So it took me literally 5 years to create a physique where I figure, not necessarily to become professional, but where the upper body caught up with the legs. And, right.
Most of us, how many trainers we have in the audience? How many trainers? Okay. We've heard many times in the gym that if you're a woman, don't lift weights because you're going to get too big.
Well, and the other thing to that is the only way you can change your physique or develop a symmetrical physique is through weight training. If you're trying to put on size, then you lift heavier, probably around 6 to 10 repetitions. If you're trying to either maintain, you do more like around 10 to 15 reps. But if you want the muscles to look, some people say, for example, they say, well, I just want to look toned. I don't want to get muscles. Well, if you don't train with enough resistance, you'll get nothing. If you're doing like 20 reps and it's light, you might as well just go do cardio. You always use the weight training. I use my weight training to get either, if I'm lifting heavy, to put on more size, or if I'm trying to even get toned or tight, I use that as a form of making my muscles hard and creating the look I want. From that, if you're a heavy person, then no matter if you're fat or you're skinny or you're an average person, your nutrition is just as important as your training. The training maybe takes 1 hour a day or less, but it's what you do after you leave the gym. The nutrition is very, very important. Otherwise, if you're not having enough protein, then you're not going to put on any muscle, you're not going to get the look you want. You can do biceps for every single day, and it's not going to give you that body you want. I believe in using your weights as a way of building your muscles. You use the diet to get rid of the fat, and you use your cardio to get rid of the fat. Even when I'm competing to the day of my contest or close to my contest, I still only train 2 days on, 1 day off, 2 days on, and rotate it like that. I don't do any more supersets or trisets and lots of sets. I actually, close to contests, I actually train a little slower because my energy level is slower. So I try to make sure I get enough rest in between sets and then do my next set. My diet is where I have to diet in order to get the fats out, in order to lose the body fat. I don't want to use my weight training as the aid of losing the body fat. I use my diet and my cardio to get rid of the body fat.
So what you're saying really is that rather than going in the direction of using many repetitions to burn fat, you keep your weight training pretty much standard.
Right, and my body fat burning comes from my cardio and my diet.
Now, what considerations do you have for various body types? You have ectomorphs, mesomorph, and endomorphs. How would you give advice in various body types?
Okay, the first body type is a slender person, right? Which they probably have a harder time gaining muscles. That, even more important, they need to make sure they're eating enough calories. I wouldn't recommend, if they like doing cardio, fine, but I wouldn't recommend they need any cardio at that time. They're trying to put on muscle, so they try to make sure they have enough proteins for men and for women also. You have for a gram to a gram and a half of protein per pound of body weight. And with that person, if they're a lean person, they also need a lot of carbohydrates and protein. So probably a balance of 60 to 40. I always like keeping my protein high. Now, if you have a person that's at the opposite end, that tends to carry a lot of body fat, they will have to concern themselves with a lot more cardio. Cardio done probably 4 to 5 times a week. Try to split it up. If you can do the cardio first thing in the morning on an empty stomach, you do it then. Or if you don't have that luxury, then you do it right after your workout that day. And same thing with cardio. If you do too much cardio, sometimes it hinders your recovery for the weight training. So you probably at least want to have a good 1 or 2 days, like at least 1 good day of rest of no cardio and no weight training in order for you to recover.
So basically, if you're a mesomorph or an endomorph, those two body types, you would need to do more cardio.
Right, and also as far as the training, if you're trying to put on muscle, you always want to train heavy, and you always want to train to failure. So failure is you want to go between 6 to 10 reps. If you get a weight and you say, okay, I'm going to do 10 reps, and you can do 12, well, it's not heavy enough. So you try to go, okay, this I'm gonna get 6 reps for this set. If you go and you try to get 6 reps and you can make it 8, then make it 8. Always go to failure through every single set.
And this is true about Laura, because not long ago, when she's starting to consider competing as Miss Olympia again, she's coming into the gym where we both train and we both work from time to time. And Laura was hack squatting. You know how tough hack squats are. Laura was hack squatting with 4 plates per side. So when she's talking about going heavy, we're not talking about 10-pound dumbbells, 12-pound dumbbells, 1 plate. She's going max out.
Right.
So don't be afraid, you ladies. Don't be afraid to use weight. Take it all the way.
Because
train to failure.
for one thing that I did learn as the years went on, or even one of the things that I was lucky enough after a year, after 1985, I moved to California, packed up my bags, took the bus to Buffalo, took the People's Express, which was like luggage, and moved to California, worked there illegally for years, had to do what I had to do, and, you know, did lots of jobs and worked out, like lived pretty much at Gold's Gym. But also with that, you get a lot of people like Charles Glass and people like that, which has given me advice, which has really, really helped me over the years. And when I went there, I was crazy. I used to do, with legs, I used to do 100 reps, 4 sets, 100 reps. Leg extension, 4 sets, 100 reps of squats, because I thought my legs are big, you know, they're not going to get cut. And then upper body, I trained 6 to 10 reps every year. My muscles getting bigger. And I go to show and people go, you haven't been training your legs hard enough. They're still smooth. Well, one thing I found out after years and, you know, of being thick-headed like us bodybuilders are, and you're so gung-ho that you want it so bad that most of the times you end up overtraining. So what I realized is, like, for example, if you say you bang into something, you hit your legs and it's all swollen, right, because it's inflamed. That's exactly what I was doing with my legs. When I'm doing leg extensions and I'm doing all those reps, my legs are always inflamed. So if you have an injury or something is inflamed, it will always hold water. So it always, my upper body looked fine, and my abs was kicking, and then my legs was smooth, totally smooth, because I overtrained my legs. And then one day I remember my ex, ᴑᴇsɪʟᴜ, said to me, he said, look at those guys, look at Flex and those guys. Look what they do. They just go and they do squats. You don't see them doing inner thigh machine and outer thigh machine and bun this and all this stuff, and look at the guys' butts and look at their bodies. Train, if you want to, and a lot of times you think, okay, my legs are big, means that my legs is muscular. A lot of women, they have big legs, but they have big fat legs. And the only way that you can get your legs to separate is you have to have muscles in there. I didn't have muscle in there. They were fat, and they were big, but there was no muscle. And how can you separate fat? There's none to separate. Of course, your upper body, it's all muscle, so you can see, you know, all the definition and all that. Until I finally got it out of my head, in order to get muscles in my legs, I have to train it heavy. I have to train as hard as I can. Not with hard as I can doesn't mean now 100 reps of extensions. It means hard as I can for 10 to 12, maybe up to even 15, like hard squats or a hard leg press, like, you know, and then from that, doing that just 1 year and then realizing, you know, the leg press, and then after you get up and your butt's harder, you know, your hamstrings come in, so many things come in more. If you train the muscle, you have to train the muscle. So don't worry if, you know, like if you have your clients and they go, well, my legs are big, do a million reps like this, and then nothing happens. The reason it's not happening is because, not because it's big, but it's fat. So you have to change their mentality and thinking. My legs, when I started bodybuilding, was 24 inches. And my upper body was like, I was very narrow, like I wore like a size 9 or 10 pants, and I wore like a size 5 top. All the years I've been weight training, all the way I've been bodybuilding, I actually end up having a smaller thighs now than when I started my upper body. Now I can wear like a size 10 or whatever top, because I, you know, developed my delts and developed my lats, and so changed my whole physique of how it was. But my legs never got bigger. So when people say if I train heavy, I'm going to get bigger legs, they're going to get more muscular legs, and then the more muscle the more muscle you have, the more calories you can burn. So first you have to get that whole mentality out of your mind. And all these little in this and that, if you have clients and you want them to go waste time, that's okay. But it really doesn't work, right?
That's what I find in the gym. As soon as a lady comes into our gym, the first place to find them is on the in
and another time machine. Right. Take forever. Right. Exactly, and you could achieve the same things. I hope I'm not going all around topic, but if you forget anything, just jump in anytime. Better thing to do is lunges. Lunges, you can use some resistance. You know, you don't have to do 50 lunges, just do 10 to 15 reps. And that will tighten your inner thighs more and your butt and everything a lot faster than an inner thigh machine. And even for me, mentally, I think if you start doing an inner thigh machine, I don't want my thighs to get bigger here because I don't want to stand on stage like this. Because if you do using that, you're using that muscle in there. At the end of the day, that muscle is going to be bigger. Is that where you want your thighs to be bigger or outside? Right? So really, if you use too much or enough weight for resistance in the inner thighs, I feel that it would get bigger in there. Right, exactly. And that's not where you want the size.
Well, the whole idea, when Laura and I were thinking of what we would do to talk about the symmetrical physique, is right at the beginning, a couple of things you need to do. You need to look at yourself or have someone look at you who knows what they're looking at. And the first thing is for them to figure out, A, what body type do you have? Are you an ectomorph, are you a mesomorph, or you're an endomorph? Because your training style, your number of sets and reps will vary depending on your body type to a certain extent. And as Laura said, how much cardio you will do within your training. Secondly, the next thing you need to do is to have someone assess your physique and decide whether you have, like Laura did, a small upper body, bigger thighs and hips, or if you got the reverse, smaller legs, bigger upper body, and all the variations that can come with that. Some people don't have very much in leg biceps, for instance. That's always a tough one to have. And us judges, we're always looking for the leg biceps as part of the symmetrical physique. So you have to get someone who can assess you and tell you where your problems lie. Now, don't start trying to be Miss Olympia right off the bat. It's one of the things that I had, when Laura was coming, she didn't, but in the era when we were training hard, I'd have people come into me, ladies come into me and they'd go, first of all, I don't want to build muscle. I don't want to be big. I said, okay, trust me, you won't be big. I'd point out a guy and you can see that guy over there? He is training hard. He is doing his best to get huge. And you know what? He's not getting huge. He's a man. Imagine a woman. It's tough. It's tough to build muscle. You have to really know what you're doing. But the next thing they would do, they'd point to the picture of something like ᴅᴇᴜ and say, that's what I want to be like. You know, well, do you want to have muscle or you don't want to have? You just pointed out the best woman body or female body in the world.
Right.
You see? So you want to have someone who would take you back to the basics. Say, let's develop the physique first. Like Lee Haney said this morning, Bill, he said, why start polishing the physique
when there's no physique? Right, right.
I always liken it to going over to Canadian Tire, we call it crappy tire, right? Yeah. and you're planning to buy a car next year. You haven't got the car yet, but I'm getting it next year. But right now, I'm buying my polished car, I'm buying my polish, I'm going to get out there Saturday morning, I'm going to practice polishing, but you haven't got a car. You haven't got a physique yet. So let's go back to the basics, get the physique, stay with the basic movements, and I'll tell you what they're doing.
Right, and one thing you don't want to do is, like, I mean, I made a lot of mistakes in my training. It's like, the most important thing is don't overtrain. Because you're so gung-ho, you want it in 6 months, or you want it in a year, and just be patient. It took a long time for me to be able to become more symmetrical. And that's from year after year, and I feel like I still can make improvements, right? Genetically, I knew I had the big legs, so as I learned, you know, if I train them heavier, I can get more separation in them. Okay, I've been able to do that. I don't have Linda Murray's delts, but I would kill for those. But from where I started, from my narrow shoulders to now, I have made 1,000,000% of improvement. So all you can do is every year, if you're improving, just keep on going. Don't look at someone else and say, well, how come they look like that, you know, and I don't look like that. And also, what I like about bodybuilding, it's all an illusion, and especially on stage. You know, so one of the things also after I discussed the how I train, one thing I really want to do with you guys is something I never learned until I got on stage and I look at pictures and see like I look like a total geek, is you can be very symmetrical, but if you're on the stage and you don't know how to present yourself, someone that has a poorer physique than you can actually beat you. So even if you could have this great symmetrical physique, and now I was very good at, you know, the training business, and then finally got up there, but then I look at the picture and my arms look like this, or I'm like out of whack, and the judges can only judge what you're giving them. And if you don't give it to them correctly, or you don't hide your weaknesses, there's nothing, you know, they can do but judge you the way you're presenting yourself.
I'd like to say something about that too. What Laura has just said is really true. You have to know what you look like. And everybody comes up and say they like to look like Laura Craval, they like to look like Linda Murray, they like to look like Corey Edison. On the male side, a lot of people told me they want to look like Bill Pearl, they want to look like Mohammed Markoui. You can't. You can only look like
the best
yourself.
you. Right.
That's the only person you can look like. And maybe if you've done your homework, done your work well, maybe in the future, other people will be saying, well, I'd like to look like you.
Right.
But that would still be the wrong thing, but you become the image, because you have to train yourself. And what Laura said is really true. As a judge, when we're sitting there looking at the physiques, a lot of people come up and they go, after the contest, they want to know what went wrong. I was ripped, I was ready, I was there. But you know what? Judges can't judge what they don't see.
Right.
That's what people forget.
Right.
Don't necessarily listen to your best buddies in the gym. They love you. And we love you too. But they will not tell you the truth because they want to be your friend. The person you have to listen to is someone who, not that they don't like you, but someone who's brutally honest.
Very critical. Right. You need that person.
Like Arnold,
Right.
for instance, when Arnold was competing, Arnold is the toughest guy because he hates anybody to tell him what to do. But he listened to Joe Weider. He'd go to Joe and said, okay, Joe is the biggest name in bodybuilding.
Right.
And Joe, and he'd go pose for Joe Weider in the office, and Joe would say, your biceps look terrible. So Arnold knows he has to go back to the gym and work on biceps, or he needs to work on legs and so on. And talking about symmetry. Arnold was a guy, as a body, he didn't have very big legs. The biggest Arnold legs were in competition was 27 inches. As a male bodybuilder, it's nothing. But like Laura said, it's how you stand and how you present yourself and what you show to the judges. We'll judge what we see, nothing else.
Right. Few different type of physiques that I come across, or as females we notice. Genetically, as I said, big legs, small waist, but real, like very narrow shoulders, and you know, small upper body. The way to change that is you have to, you know, and even if, say, you know, you see somebody, you have a client and they're wide-waisted, and or they go straight up and down. The only way, as I said, bodybuilding is illusion. The only way to change that illusion of that person having that wide waist is to build the lats, build the legs. You get more sweep on your legs, you get more lats, the waist looks smaller. I was lucky that I had a small waist, but still on stage I had just tree trunks and little abs and then nothing on the upper body, which doesn't look terribly attractive either. So I realized the most important thing for me to build was my, as they used to call it in the days, the wings, right? So I've found exercises that I feel are superior in developing this certain exercise you do for your back, and you do it from the back. So when you stand on stage from the back visually, you know, you do a lat spread, your lats is nice and wide, and then you come and you see a lot of people, they turn to the front, you're going, where's their lats? It's way up here. Because they also don't train, you have to, in order to get your lats down lower, you have to train your lats to get them down lower. One of my favorite exercises to do for that, and this was told to me by Charles Glass and Mike Christensen at the time, I was like, you know, my lats is high, what do I do, what do I do? And the exercise that I do is reverse lat pull downs. When I'm on like a lat pull down machine, it's reversed this way, and I won't do a lightweight. And it's down, and I let it stretch, and I stretch, stretch, stretch. The higher I stretch, the more I feel it on my lats. So, and the thing is with back, the positive and negative is as important. When you come down, that works your back. When you go up, that works more your lats. So I always like to make sure if I'm doing a heavy weight, I bring it down, I let it stretch. I bring it down, I always let it stretch. And when I do this, because I'm trying to build the muscle, because I'm trying to get more lats and all that, I go very heavy. Like if I can get 6 reps, I don't want 10 reps or 12 reps. I want to go as heavy as I possibly can. I usually wear the wraps because I have very weak grip. And one of the things too, when I first went to California and I would do the pull downs, and my grip was weak, so I would do very, very light weights. So I started using the straps. And I can literally use twice as much weights when I have, you know what I'm talking about, those wraps? I can use twice as much weight. Well, Charles was training me at the time, and he goes, well, your grip is not going to get any stronger. I said, yeah, but when I get on stage, I don't care how strong my grip is. I want to have lats, right? So by the time I develop strong grip, it'll be 10 years down the road. So literally to this day, if I don't have straps, it's very difficult for me to even do like half the weights. But I wrap the straps and I pull it down, and I don't believe in pausing and squeezing. I just yank the weight down and let it stretch. Yank it down and let it stretch. And that sole exercise, I feel, as to develop my lats from the front. That's one. The other one is things that I do that a lot of people might not do. Like I know everybody else already spoken, do chest, you do this, this, and this, you do back, you do this. But the things, what I want to speak to you on, or Winston can interject, what I want to speak to you on is little exercises that I feel that's created the physique that I've achieved. One is the lat pull downs, definitely. The other one is pullovers. These are little simple things that I do. You can do pullovers 3 times. You can either do it, and Winston, you can correct me if I'm wrong. You can do them when you're doing chest. I choose to do them on my chest day because it's my easier day than when you do back. You can do it on your chest day. You can do it on your back day, or some bodybuilders also do it when you do quads. Because one of the things when you do pullovers, you want to make sure that you're breathing hard, or your rib cage is kind of expanded, right? So when you squat and you get up, and your rib cage is expanding, and you do the pullovers, you can stretch a lot more. And for me, I do it when I'm doing chest. I feel like when I do it, I put my head, like, here, move that for me. Thanks. Hook my head right on the end of the bench, because if I come too far over, I tend to get a head rush. So it's a hard exercise to teach, but once you get the groove, it's an awesome exercise. Hook your head there on the end of the bench. Keep your butt as close to the ground as possible so you're getting a nice stretch. And you keep your elbows out, because if you do this, then that's triceps, right? Of course, when you do them, you're going to feel a little bit of tricep, but, triceps is helping you do the exercise. Well, not actually helping you do the exercise, but they're your stabilizer. They're there, so there's nothing you can do about that. So if my elbows is this way, and I stretch as far as I can naturally. Like, I don't want to come in like this. I just want to stretch. So literally, you can even do it with a client where, you just push against you're behind them, you push against their arms just to let them see how it feels. And you stretch as far as you can, and you just come back and you release. So it's not that. That's not what I'm doing. I'm stretching, and then I'm releasing. So stretch and up. Stretch and forward. And stretch, and this is something you don't want to do with too heavy a weight, because when I first started, I tried it too heavy, and I actually felt like I pulled something in my intercostals. I went to the doctor, and it was very, very painful. So, right, exactly. Something you want to do. This is one of the things I would say. Don't go for 6 reps. Go for the 10, the 12 reps. It's more of a stretching exercise than a building exercise. But Chris Cormier told me one of the things he said. I said, Chris, your lats really improved from the front. He says, I started doing pullovers. So I feel with my combination of maybe lat pull downs, always doing the pullovers, all that has helped me to achieve my lats visibly from the front. One of the other things I found that it also pullovers did for me, when I'm getting ready for competition and when I've been lazy, and the years that I haven't done the pullovers, I do chest, I do the bench, incline and the flies or cable crossover, something like that. And I don't do the pullovers. When I compete and I do a front double bicep and I try to make a vacuum, I can't. So what I found with this, when I do pullovers and I do it before a competition, I can literally, blow all the air out of my stomach, pull up, and abs literally goes right under my rib cage and like my waist, and it's just all illusion. My waist looks that much tinier. So it's all has to do with, you know, the illusion, the little exercise that can help you get just a little, you know, that little fine tune. If it helps, you know, try it. It might work for you.
A couple things I'd like to say. Just going back a little bit, I want to deal with both areas, the back. What a lot of people do, and especially women, seem to fall into the trap. For men, it's not so bad because, you know, like men can get as big as they want, get huge they want. We go, wow, look how huge that guy is, you know, that type of thing. But women have got to be really careful. I remember from the beginning of women's bodybuilding, luckily for me, I was there right at the beginning. We had people like Carla Dunlap, Rachel McLeish, ᴅᴇᴜᴜᴘ and so on. Some of you might know those names. But when Laura talks about building a back, again, be really critical of your physique. If your back grows easily, don't overwork it. Like I was just at a competition about 3 weeks ago, the Masters O and the Jan Chandler Classic. And there's a bodybuilder named Paula Suzuki. She's known for a tremendous back. And it's really great for us bodybuilders and us judges to sit there when she comes on stage and we go, wow, does she look amazing? But you know what? As judges, we're not going to give her first place because she has lost the symmetrical physique. The back is so wide, the back is so huge, the back is so developed, and unfortunately for her, she hasn't built a sweep in her thighs, she hasn't balanced the physique. So you've got to be careful. You have to know where your strong points are and know how to balance the rest of the physique. The other thing I wanted to say, pullover is great. I actually read in a couple of magazines, and I know those youngsters coming out of university saying, oh, pullovers, don't do them. You know what? If you're going to be a bodybuilder, you'd better learn to do pullovers, because that is the single exercise which really addresses making a symmetrical, beautiful physique. That is the one that addresses the torso. That is the one that gives you the intercostal. And brings it right from your abs all the way up.
From your lower abs.
Like Mohammed said right just before this, when he was competing and he got down to the last 2 weeks of competition, he wouldn't do any abs. But you know what? If you're doing pullovers right into the competition, guess what? You're doing abs, but not developing them like a muscle, like a bicep does, because they will atrophy. And if you leave them alone, if you work them, they'll hypertrophy, and leave them alone, they'll atrophy on you, which is good because you want to have that small waist that Laura was known for. You want to have those abs coming out, and the pullovers will give you that illusion of the physique.
Yeah, and then one of the reasons I've done like well in competition, everyone goes, oh, you have a great front double bicep, or like I have great arms. Well, my arms are not really big, but it's illusion when I pose and I'm up there and they see my lats, my stomach is sucked in and everything. The last thing that the judges see is my arms. It's just the look. You know, you see the guys, even the guys or the women, and you look and you see the girl with a big arm and she's like this. Well, your arms can be as big as possible, but the judges you from the bottom all the way up. So if the legs and everything, if the picture is not beautiful, don't matter how big your arms are. So it's always, everything is like a picture, you know. So everything has to be, the lines always have to be pretty.
You know, a lot of times I read in the magazines after a competition, Miss Olympia, Mr. Olympia, whatever. Oh, this was the year the judges were looking for size because they went for Carla Dunlap, or they went for Corey Everson over so-and-so. But you know what? We're always judging the same things. We're judging symmetry. Symmetry is possibly the most important feature you can develop on your physique. If you don't have symmetry, you're in trouble. I don't care how big your legs are. I don't care how huge your calves are. There was a girl from here from Toronto that used to compete. I don't remember her name. I think she had better calves than Bill Pearl, and that's really hard to beat. Because Bill Pearl had the greatest calves, and still does. You know? But she had amazing calves. But you know what? There'd be four competitors in her class. She'd be fourth every time.
Because her calves are almost bigger than her quads. So it just took away so much from her, and it was really sad because she got in good shape, but she just you looked at it, it was just so out of balance that and unfortunately, you know, she needed to build so much more lats and so much more legs, but she could over years and, you know, patience.
And then people say, like I said, you're going to the, oh, they were going to the big girl this year. Well, we're not going to the big girls, the big guys, the small this, the small that. We're going to the most symmetrical. I remember, and I know we're talking to female physique, but my friend Bill Pearl, who I admire so much, is here. And Bill Pearl had one of the greatest physiques in the world. And what made his physique so great was that as huge as he might have been, you could never tell how tall or short or whatever he was because you're so symmetrical. When Linda Murray won the first Miss Olympia, she was huge. But what was more important, she was quite symmetrical. And that's where Laura came along and began to shake everybody up. Because here were these girls that were kind of bigger. Laura was a more symmetrical physique, and there was always the buzz. Every year in the magazine was the buzz. Should Laura have one? Should Linda have one? And that really creates great competition.
A couple other exercises that, of course, back is one of my favorite body parts. I enjoy doing back. But one of the other exercises I like is one-arm dumbbell rows. And this is another exercise I do heavy. And same thing, I only, if you're trying to build, if you're building, I'm speaking about, a thicker back. And what it did for me, it develops my lats and from my lower lats from here on down. And the way I do mine, most people when they do pullovers, they come up and then they, dumbbell rows, they come up and then they come down like this. That's fine. And that's great for your back also. But what I do is I come up and then I stretch. So I'm not literally stretching. The weight's heavy. I use a heavy enough weight that I yank the weight up and then I stretch forward. So then it's like this. This is the motion. Up, stretch. Up, and stretch. Up, and just let the weight go. Up, and let the weight go. And I don't mind doing a heavy weight because I'm in a position where I feel I'm not going to hurt my lower back. I wouldn't tell you to do a big heavy weight and try to cheat, you know, if you're bending over because that's dangerous for your back. So this leg, all the weight's on this thigh, and then this side. So all the weight's on this side of your body. This leg is out of the way. And all you're doing is yanking the weight up, stretch, up. And if you try this, but if you try with a heavy enough weight, if I tell you to do this and you do 20 pounds, you're going to go, okay, you're stretching, and it's just a regular stretch. But I tell you, if you do this with a heavy weight and you bring the weight up, if you bring it up, it's going to, when you let it go, it's going to take you, but let it take you forward. So you stretch, and it stretches all the way from your lower lats. Great exercise, just going to here and down, but why not add that little extra? Come up, just let it stretch. Come up, let it stretch, and it pulls all the way from your lower lats. And these are other things that I've done where people go, how come you develop that muscle down there? Nobody has that. Very few people do that exercise. So
Laura said, and we've heard some of the champions speak today, and you'll notice they all come back to the same thing. That explosive output of energy as you bring the weight up. Laura's not afraid to take a heavy weight. She'll go as heavy as she needs to go. But you'll notice that every time she talks about training the back, she comes back and she's using one word, which a lot of people don't do. I find that happens with my clients sometimes, especially if they're ladies, even if they're doing the lat pull like you were doing before. In their mindset, oh my gosh, he's going up in weight, he's up to 80 pounds. So what they tend to do is to hang on to the weight here and not get the stretch. You'll notice that Laura's constantly saying, get the stretch. If you're training back, you've got to get the stretch. If not, you're cheating yourself and you're robbing yourself of some of the most important parts of the exercise.
All right. Other tips. For me, as far as abs, because at least if you have a contest in 6 months, at least you can go with some abs. As far as abs, I personally do abs when my abs are good, because I know the difference of years where I do abs off-season all the time, and if I do it at the beginning of my workout, every workout for 10 minutes, say I'll pick 2 exercises, and I always superset my abs. That's the only exercise that I actually superset. I don't superset any other body part but abs. I would do, say, like leg raises, So I try to superset upper and lower. So I'll say like I do leg raises that may be like a crunch. And I'll go back and forward. And I do that, say, first set, maybe I can get 20 or 30 reps. Next, and then I do the other exercise and back and forth. And the next set, maybe I get 15 reps. And the next set, maybe I only get 10 reps. So I just really pretty much go for failure. I don't use any weights. So I'll do the leg raise. And then the first one, of course, you know, you first go in the gym in your first set, you can do a lot. If you keep supersetting, second set, third set, well, after you do 3 sets, you superset them, you get a nice little blood flowing, you feel a little sweat, and you're done. And you gone on to your workout. Instead of people going on the treadmill for 5-10 minutes to warm up, I rather do my abs. I'd rather warm up with my abs and then go on to do whatever I have to do. So when comes contest time, I don't have to say, okay, now contest comes, I got to train my abs. And I noticed years when I didn't train my abs all year round, and when contest came, I didn't have the crisp abs that I had like of years of when I did it all the time. So I know, to me, I don't feel, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't feel like you can overtrain your abs. I don't use a lot of weight because I don't want them to get, they're as thick as I want them to be. Of course, if you're trying to get your abs thicker, then you could use resistance. But they're as thick as I want them to be, so now I just, you know, just do the reps and just make sure I just do it every workout.
Yeah, my years of training people and being around champion bodybuilders, female and male, is that they train on a consistent basis. Laura's right. A lot of the women, in particular, I see them come in the gym, what's the first place they go? They go to the cardio machines. Well, as I said here all day, the more cardio you do, you will continue to break the muscle down. I say, why waste time? You've come into the gym, you're going to train muscle. You're trying to build up total muscle. You don't necessarily want to become Miss Olympia. But if you want to look good, you've got to build muscle. Muscle is what looks good. Muscle is what keeps your health. Okay? So here you are. You want to come down into the gym, because our cardio is upstairs, so I might say that. And you want to train on the bench presses, on the flies, on the lat pull downs, and so on. But then you started by tearing down the muscle so far that you can't build them back up. And then a lot of people go back up to cardio again and do it. Yes, cardio is probably best at the end of the work, as Laura said right at the beginning. But you've got to be consistent all year. And you've got to work those out. And that's what I do, particularly with my female clients in particular. I have them start by going to the ab section and working the abs first, and then the carry on the rest, because that you will keep it constant all the time and keep the weight small. And don't use weight. We have you got those machines, the ab crunch one, where you can put the weights on? I want to go into my gym and take all the weights away from that area and throw them somewhere else. Because, like Muhammad said, abs are just like biceps or quads or any other muscle. If you train them heavy, guess what? They're going to grow. I don't think anyone, and certainly not women, want to have bigger waists, because that's what you will do. You'll create bigger muscles in the abdomen, bigger muscles on the obliques, and you're going to look bigger, and you're going to destroy that illusion we're talking about. But if you do them just enough on a constant basis, keep it tight.
One of the things I think, before I forget, okay, let me just say this real quick before I lose my train of thought. The other thing, on the other end of the spectrum, you see a lot of bodybuilders, and they show up to contests, and they used to have nice small waists, and then they have big guts. And what I realized is, once I was doing photo shoots for Muscle and Fitness, and one of the exercises I was doing was leg extensions, and I was sitting on the leg extension machine, right? And I'm doing the leg extensions. Oops. And they're photo shooting me, and so you can see my torso and everything. So I had like a little top and a little bottom and all. And I'm like this, and I'm doing legs. And I look at the picture, and all I can see in the picture is like, oh my God, my waist looks wide. Why? Because when I'm pushing, I'm extending my legs, I'm pushing out with my stomach. If you keep training and you're training heavy, you keep pushing your stomach out all the time, your abs are going to develop, but they're going to develop sticking out. And that's not what you want. So I always concentrate now. I'm always conscious all the time to always keep my stomach in. So if I'm doing quads, if I'm doing leg extensions, now I try to stuck my stomach in. So I'm only working my legs. I'm not using my gut to help me get the weight out. And it's so easy to do, and you don't really think about it. And this always you have to be conscious of. The other thing, I remember doing a seminar with one of the other male bodybuilders, and they go, hey, how do you get those abs? He has great abs, thick, but they stick out. And he goes, hey, I never do abs, I just do tricep pushdowns. Yes, you can get abs from tricep pushdowns, because when you're pushing down, you go, and you're pushing on your abs, but you get abs that sticks out, because you're breathing out and you're sticking your abs out. I want to develop good abs, but at the end of the day, I want to be able to suck them in. So you can blow your stomach out of not like, you see like a lot of male bodybuilders that used to look good and had great physiques and had small waists. They're still small, but if you don't concentrate consciously all the time of sucking your stomach in, the day of a contest you go on stage, it's not going to happen. You turn nervous, everything, you're standing there. So even if you're sitting in a car, you're driving, no matter what you're doing, always try to hold your breath for like, start out first with like a couple seconds and move it up to like 10 seconds, 20 seconds, just so you can always concentrate on keeping your stomach small. I have a friend, Jay Cutler. He is like a very, very dear friend of mine. He's like, hey, I don't want my stomach to be big. So you know what he does? He used to walk around the house with his belt, his weight belt, because then you can't stick your stomach out, right? So he tightens his belt and he walks around the house all day, or he's sitting or whatever. So then he's never going to do this. And another thing, too, you look at powerlifters. And one of the things, a powerlifter was helping me squat one day, and I have great form as far as squatting. I'm a great squatter. I can't be a powerlifter because I'm very, very weak at bench. If it's only squatting alone, I could do well. But he says, push your stomach out against the belt. Well, if I'm squatting, and I can squat 4 or 5, and I'm squatting all that weight, and I'm going down, and I'm pushing my stomach out, my gut's going to get bigger. I mean, because what you're doing is pushing your stomach out against the belt in order to support your back. So when I do quads, and I'm doing that heavy, I tighten that belt, so there is no way to push. But if I leave that belt a little loose and you're pushing against that belt, you guarantee that you're going to get bigger legs. But who wants to go 1 year later to a competition someone, the judge will go, well, you need to get your quads up, and your quads came up, but so did your belly, right? So then the illusion is lost. So it's, trying to find, if you're training heavy, trying to find that happy medium. Always concentrate on your stomach. If you want to build bigger arms, or just get the physique symmetrical, concentrate on your stomach. Concentrate on your stomach. And I don't know which bodybuilder I heard this from, probably Lee Labrada. What I do is every morning, especially close to contests, about like 3 months, 4 months out, every morning when I get up, when you get up in the morning, how your stomach is empty and you can suck your stomach in and it feels, it's really good. So what I do is when you go to your sink and you lean over, and I blow all the air out of my stomach, right? So I just blow the air out, then and you hold your breath, like just for a few seconds. And as you get better, you can be better at sucking your stomach in, and be better at sucking your stomach. So the day you get on stage, you can bend over, and that's why everyone says, oh, Laura, you're so, all this pizzazz you do when you do your front upper bicep. Well, the only way I can get the air out of my lungs is to bend over and go. So when I come up, and nobody knows that you're doing that. But if that's what it takes for me to lean over, because otherwise, if I just from there, front upper bicep, and I do this, okay, my biceps will be there, but my waist is going to be wider, and that whole illusion that you create is gone. So it's all illusion. And one of the things Corey taught me too. She did a camp way back when Bill used to do the bodybuilding camps. Corey said, and as tall as Corey was, she says, even when you're posing, she said, I always suck a breath in. So, for example, if I'm doing side chest and I'm like this, she says when she does side chest, she goes, so if you're there, okay, that's a regular. And then she just breaks to the breath. It just makes your chest, everything that much higher. Front double bicep. So everything, you always hold your breath. That's why the first contest I did, I was on stage. It was the Novice Ontario in 1982. And I was standing on stage, quarter turn, quarter turn, quarter turn. Okay, and after pre-judging, the head judge came up to me, and he became a good friend of me and taught me how to pose. And he said, you were too relaxed. You relaxed up there. I said, yeah. They said relax. I said, in bodybuilding, there's no such thing as relax. You're standing there and smiling and looking like you're relaxing. You're stiff as hell, you know. So it's all the illusion. Pretend that you're relaxed. And one of the things...
One of the things I used to say to bodybuilders, remember that when you're coming on stage, the judges are judging you from the time you've walked through the curtain. People forget that, you know, because let's say you're judging, you have maybe 10 bodybuilders on stage in that class and you're judging them. You may have already, as a judge, made a decision in who's first, second, or third, or maybe you made a decision. Sometimes the way I do it, I go from the bottom up. I got to get it out of the way. So who's 10th, who's 9th, who's 8th, who's 7th, and I go up that way. Now I'm left with the top 5 or 6. And one judge may have 3 numbers called out, and I may not be so interested in that group. But now I'm looking at you while you're standing back here, because I'm trying to make a decision. Are you 4th or are you 5th? And if you're standing there with your stomach hanging out, guess what?
You're 5th.
You're 5th. You see what I'm saying? So these are things that people don't think about. The judges are always judging you. And to back and forth what you said, another thing that I say to my clients a lot, no matter what exercise you're doing, Lee Haney talked about it, Mohammed talks about it, any exercise basically that you're doing, particularly legs, you're squatting, bent over rows and so on, you got to keep that stomach tucked in, because it'll do what Laura said, preserve that symmetry, because if you get accustomed to hang it out, guess what you're going to do on stage? You're going to hang it out. And it showed last year, she spoke to talk about Jay Cutler. Last year, Jay Cutler destroyed Ronnie in the prejudging because of his narrow waist and his abs that were in great shape. And Ronnie, if you read in all the magazines, his stomach was hanging out. Big mistake. He was very lucky to win last year.
Yeah, like one of the guys that has a great physique, and I felt that could have gone all the way, is like Paul Dillette. Genetically beautiful, and then it's like, Paul, come on, suck that stomach in. But he's been doing so many years that he's like this, like literally pregnant, that now of years of not controlling the muscle, it's now he can't place top anymore, which is sad, because genetically, and these full muscle bellies, you know, nice delts, nice like all over, and then his waist now is ruined it for him. So, and I don't know if he can ever get that back. Maybe he can. Right. Like, but if you're right, exactly. If you get lazy,
you can't say I'm going to go on stage next week, so I'll do it when I get there.
Today. Right.
You can't. Exactly. You don't have the stamina to do it. You have to be doing it all along. If you haven't been doing it in the gym, you can't do it on stage, because let me tell you, it looks simple. A lot of people sit in the audience and the spectator gallery and they look at these bodybuilders and they go, I could have beat her. I could have beat him. But you know what? It's hard work. And you know what I tell people? You only know it's when you stand on stage and you stand beside the next bodybuilder, that's when the thoughts come to you. I should have squatted more. I should have done more abs. I should not have that extra donut. Because that's where it begins to hurt. And it's long. It doesn't seem long. Like you have 1 minute in the amateur division to pose. That 1 minute is an eternity. It's like an hour you're up there. And it's tiring. So what happens when you get tired? If you've been standing there, if you're in the top group and they're comparing you a lot and you get tired, guess what happens? All the bad habits come out. And this is what happens to Paul Dillette. All the bad habits come out. He has an asthma condition which makes it worse. So when he gets tired, he slumps over and the stomach hangs out. And the guys look up and they go, no. That's it.
You had a question, sorry. I'm sorry.
What is your training split?
My training split, so day 1 is back. And basically I've stayed pretty much with the same program, off-season, on-season. Back I do lat pull-downs behind the neck. Reverse lat pull downs, which from a lats. Bent over row, either on either the machine, if I have like a row machine, or a bent over machine. So I wouldn't do all 3 of that. Either the bent over rows this way, or the T-bar rows, or a row, like a machine row. One of those three, not all three. And every other workout, especially now that I'm trying to find some muscle again, I do deadlifts. In that I do maybe 6 to 8 reps. I don't go for the 5 or 4 because I don't want to hurt my back. And I'm older now, so I don't take as much chances as I used to when I was younger. And if I don't do deadlifts, then on that workout I'll do seated cable rows for the low rows. So that's pretty much my back workout. That's day 1. Day 2 would be chest. So I do back the first day, chest the second day. Chest, I always stay with the same bench, inclines, pec deck, or fly, or cable crossover, and my pullovers. And the only thing maybe I'll superset is I'll do the fly, or the cable crossover, or the pec deck, and I'll superset that with my pullovers. Where I'm breathing, then I'll do my pullover, then I'll rest. And then I'll do the set again. So I don't want to go and do the pullovers and then still be breathing and then rush back again. I want to rest after I finish doing the pullover before I do the next set. And on that day, I do biceps. Some people do triceps with chest. I have very small joints and very long arms and tennis elbows and you name it, you know. So I can't, after I finish doing bench, and when I try to do triceps after, when I started, I literally had no tricep. I literally could not do the first pin on that machine. I had 0 triceps. So I never played the sports that, you know, gave you some good arms. So literally I had to build this from scratch. So what I found is after I did chest and I tried to do triceps, my tricep was so exhausted that I was literally using no weights. And because of that, it never grew. So what I found was easier for me is after I finished chest was to do biceps, because bicep has nothing to do with the chest. So I always do biceps on chest day. For biceps is a small muscle, so I wouldn't do as much as I do, say, for chest. For biceps, I do 2 exercises maximum. My first exercise would be either a straight bar curl or an easy curl bar, and alternating 1-arm dumbbells. Or if I do, I can do the preacher. I'll do the preacher, and I'll do, if I do preacher, then I'll do either like a cable. If you have a cable machine where you can do the from here, cable from the floor, and you do the curls. Just like instead of doing the alternating dumbbells, I'll do the cable from the floor, and I'll do the curls. And usually 6 to probably around, I'd say around 8 to 10 reps I stay about. Because of such small weights you're using, so if you increase it a little more, then you tend to have to do 5 reps. So I'd rather, and most important thing to me, always with all my exercises, proper form. Not like heaving the weight and using a lot of assisting muscles. When I work my biceps, I want to work my biceps only. If I tend to put my shoulders in the exercise, then I'll do the seated dumbbells on an incline, so it takes the shoulders out of the exercise. If I was going to do a third exercise, I'll do hammers. And the reason I do hammers is because my forearms, when I first started, I never did forearm because I said, as a woman, I don't want forearms. But because my arms are so long and then now my lats are wide, then you stand up on the stage and you see bones. So just trying to get all that, get it all symmetrical. So my lats are good now, but now I need to bring up my forearms. So, and also what I find with a hammer, I just do it straight up and straight down, straight up and straight down. And when I come down, I feel it on my forearms. And also what it works is the muscle, the tie-in muscle between your triceps and your biceps. So that, right, brachialis, thank you, sir. That muscle there. So I would do like 2 or 3 sets of that. And I have girls that I've trained with, like other professional girls that's very strong, and they're like, come on, Laura, we have to do tons of things. I said, no, follow me. We're going for failure. So when you get to 10 reps, you can't do 11. And we do 3 sets, and then we do 3 sets, and then we do the hammers, and the next day the arms are killing them. And before, they used to do tons of reps and tons of sets. The thing is, even though you don't realize it, psychologically, you're thinking, okay, I got to do 5 exercises for this muscle, 5 exercises for biceps, so you save your energy. If you know there's only 1 exercise you're going to do that day and you're only going to do 3 sets, aren't you going to go totally to failure till you can't move? So why not do that instead of overtraining that muscle? So what you want to do is the first one is a warm-up, and then 3 good sets. And same thing with chest. If I start bench, for example, I'll do bench press the first. If it's winter and it takes longer for me to warm up, I'll do like 2 very light sets. But it's warm-up sets. It's not a set. It's like paperweights. It's light to get the blood in. Then I do 3 good sets. Then I'll probably go on to an incline. Either if I do bench with a barbell bench, then I'll do incline dumbbell. And or vice versa. So some days I'll do dumbbell flat, and I'll do incline bar. And after that, then I would do my either flies. I like my favorite is actually pec deck. I find a lot of times, especially in the gym, even with trainers, when they have the clients do cable crossovers, I can't even watch because I hate, if I see bad form in a gym, I just have to close my eyes because especially if a trainer teaching someone like the wrong way. Most of the times, they grab the cable and they're coming across and they're like, they're working 10 different muscles. You try to work your pecs. You stick your pecs out, chest out, right? Grab the cable, and you're from here, and you just cross. And just like when you see the guys on stage doing most muscular, that's all you're doing. That's the exercise. You're there, you squeeze, scare, cross over this way, and then cross over the other way. If you're doing this and you're coming back up, what's that? That's not your chest. That's shoulders, that's everything else. So if you're going to do cable crossovers and you know how to do it correctly, then grab the cables, lean over. If you choose to, wherever you're balanced, if you want to put one leg forward, if that balances you, or if you put both legs together, but you're pretty much, just think of you doing like a crab, or the most muscular, and you grab the cables, but you start about here, and you cross over, and you cross over. For me, I find I have a little more leverage if I'm over this way, and over. Instead of, that's not, I mean, you get a little bit of chest at the end of the day, but you work so many other muscles. For me, I like pec deck better, because if the machine is a good machine, especially the ones that have like the high arms where you can pull, there's no way you can cheat. It's all dead on your inner chest, period. You're just there, pull, squeeze, and also same thing like if you're doing a fly, a dumbbell fly, same thing you're doing, like you're doing the pec deck machine. You pretend like you're hugging a fat guy or fat woman, right? Because it's always like, or say hugging a tree. So the movement is this way. So if you're laying down, it's that way. If it's in a flat bench, it's still that way. If you're using the pec deck machine, it's still the same thing. And one of the things I always remember, everything you're doing for chest, back, shoulders, always your chest is up. You're benching, your chest is up. You're doing back, lat pull downs, or reverse, everything, your chest is up. You're doing shoulders, your chest is always up. Always, and that's just also helps, doesn't help good posture, but if it's proper posture, if your chest is up, then you're doing the muscles correctly. What did I forget?
Day 3.
Okay, day 3 is rest. Day 4 is legs. And for legs, I do leg extensions. I like to do a couple of sets, warm up my knees really good, and then I'll do like 3 good sets. After that, I'll do either squats or hack squats. And after that, I'll do a leg press. And with the leg press, I'll either do straight on, or if I put my legs higher, of course, I get more of my glutes and my butt. If I put it lower, I'll get more on my quads. If I turn it out, I'll get more inner thighs and also outer thighs. Legs, there's a lot of things to do, and I try to just pick 3 exercises per workout. So if I do squats one day, the next workout, I'll do like the hacks, or I'll just do the leg press, and I'll do leg press, and you can do the squats where you do the wide squats. And what the wide squats are great for is one of the things I didn't have, and Bev Francis told me this. One year I was doing regular squats, and I had really good, my quads was good from the front, but I had no cuts on the side of my quads. So what I started doing was, what she showed me to do, is do the squats, so your legs are apart, toes are, what do you call that? That away. Like a plie, right. And you come down, and then you're pushing from your butt, like straight up. So what that works, it works your inner thighs, and it also works you sweep out of here, and also worked a lot to bring in the cuts in the side here. Of course, that year I did a lot of those, and that came in, but then my quads didn't look as good from the front. So, so unfortunately, you have to, like, don't change all your exercise and neglect something else. So exactly. So that's why one time I'll do the squats regular. Next time maybe I'll do them like with the plie stance. And when it's close to competition, maybe 3 months out, I'll do the lunges and things, something like that. Sometimes I do hamstrings on back day, or sometimes I do it with quads. If I'm training very, very heavy quads, I'd rather do it on back day. But what I basically do for hamstrings, always, and this is what I found. I found one year I was in Florida, and my butt was starting to drop. You know, it was getting old, so it was sagging. And I started doing stiff leg deadlifts, and literally within like 2 or 3 months, I noticed the difference. They started kind of moving back up. So I always do stiff leg deadlifts, lying hamstring curls, and if your gym has the machine, that's the seated one that you can push back, that's also an awesome exercise. So usually I would do lying hamstring curls first, and then the seated hamstrings, and then after that I do the stiff leg deadlifts. And the way I do mine, I'm bow-legged, so every time I do everything, my legs tend to lock. You should have a slight bend, but I concentrate on you're working for your hamstrings and your glutes. So what you're doing is you're stretching as far as you can naturally. The first set you do, you find that you're stiff, and as you go with 2 or 3 sets, then you find that you can stretch a lot further. So you go as far as you're flexible. So you'll see a lot of people, they have the weights and they do this, and they're using a lot of lower back. What I want to use is my butt, my hamstrings, my glutes. So if this is as far as, so what you're doing is actually just tell them to stick their butt out. It's actually easier, but they're like, oh, I'm in the gym, somebody's going to notice. And so nobody's looking. Okay, so you pretty much like you stick your butt out, right? And you're stretching, and if this is as far as you can go, then that's far enough. Because you're working this muscle. So you have the bar, you're there, and you come back up, squeeze your butt. Stretch, stretch, stretch. So keep your head up, keep your butt out. So you're stretching, 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 and up. And then if you want your clients to do it, if they can't use a big bar, let them use dumbbells. They can hold the dumbbells and you stretch, and then up. Stretch, and then up. And you know what this exercise is really good with too? If you do this on a cable. Except you have to, because the cable, from the time you grab it, it already has tension. So as soon as you grab it, it's wonderful because you can feel it. But I've showed people do this in the gym, and then everybody else is doing it, and they don't know why they're doing the exercise, so then they're not working the muscle. So I say, we had, say, the cable is down there and the bar is straight. So you grab the cable from the bottom, right? So you pick up the cable and you grab it, and then you're just stretching as far as you can. You're not rowing. You're holding the weight, and you're stretching as far as you can go so you can use the weight. So it's a good resistance, right? Plus it's like 10 pounds increments instead of having that big bar, right? So you literally put the pin in, you grab the bar, and all you're doing is stretching, like so the weight's pulling you back, come up, squeeze. So keep your arms locked. So the cable is there, you come up, squeeze. Cable's there, come up, squeeze. What a lot of people do, and what they do is grab the weight, and they'll do this, and they're rowing with the weight. You're not rowing, you're concentrating. If you do it and you're not feeling it here, you're doing it wrong.
That's something to consider that Lee Haley talked a lot about it today, the mind-body connection. The mind has got to be in the muscle that you're working. I remember reading an article many years ago, Arnold said when he's training his biceps, he imagined his biceps becoming huge mountains. Something Laura said before I want to point out, she was talking about how she trains her arms. Now Laura knew that she had problematic arms. And notice that she always focused on exercises that would create size and then create shape in that area that she felt she was lacking. And you gotta have someone, or you gotta be really brutal on yourself. A lot of people look in the mirror and they see whoever the idol is looking back. You know, the guys look in the mirror, they see Arnold Schwarzenegger, oh, I look great, you know. But you've got to be brutally honest and find out where your weaknesses are. If you have good arms, you have arms that respond well then you don't have to destroy it, but you have to train for shape. Because even if you have big arms or good sized arms, that may not necessarily win you a contest, okay? So notice that Laura was very wise when she trained her arms, creating muscle and creating shape.
Creating illusion.
And she's talking about creating the peak and getting the peak. And that's one of the things that Laura's well known for. The other thing I want to come back to is the deadlift. And particularly I want to address the idea that she was talking about the glutes. And that's such an important body part that hardly anyone talks about, except to talk about it in Oxygen and magazines like that, for fitness ladies and so on. But it's really important in fitness and in bodybuilding. When you turn to the side for that side shot for the judges, you want to see that the butt rounded out. And Laura's very wise in realizing that she was losing it a little bit, so she did what she had to do to bring it back up. I see even some great male bodybuilders, when they come up and they do the relaxed, so-called relaxed positions for us, and they turn to the side, they may have huge quads. And then they turn to the side, and the trunk is here, and it goes straight down. You go, what happened? I've totally forgotten muscle. Some of us are lucky we're black. So we got that, you know what I'm saying? We got that stuff happening. So, but I have seen lots of other people, you know what I mean, who have learned how to develop the glutes. And you got to listen to what Laura's saying. Use those exercises, even if you're squatting also, like she said, squeeze those glutes when you're coming up and let them work also.
Okay, so that's day 3 is rest, day 4 is legs, and usually I do calves. I'll do calves on the day I do back, which is like day 1, and then I'll do calves again on the day I do legs. And then for calves, I have terrible calves, so I shouldn't give major advice. I hate training calves because they hurt, but I have to do them. So one of my favorite exercises is on a what was this machine? A leg press machine. Because what I was finding when I did the regular standing calf raises, the pressure has to come all the way from the top area, all the way just to get to my calves. And if you're doing the regular standing calves and that's all you have, then you have to make it work. But for me, you put it on your shoulders, and what you have to do is concentrate on staying on your big toe, because when you're doing calves and you're doing the calf raises, it's easy to tend to roll out on your other toes. So if you think of staying on your big toe, then you know you're even. But I find I got a lot more results from doing the leg press because the weight's straight on your calves. So you're just pushing out and then releasing, pushing out. And when you're doing them, you don't have to release the handles on the side because you're pretty much pushing it up. But that works really, really great on your calves. And also, if you have a donkey calf machine in the gym, that's also a great exercise, or seated calves. So usually I pick the 2 exercises and I do 3 sets of each when I have to do them, when I hate to do them. So that's why I don't have the greatest calves. But Juliet's got great calves, so I got to train my calves for the next 5 weeks. So hopefully I can hang with her.
A great and good friend of mine that I know, I won't name him, but he's here again. One time I was down visiting his layout up in the hills of Oregon, and you know, Bill trains at 4 o'clock in the morning, and he's done that for years, and he told me, babe, I'm still doing that. He says, I'm the same as I was when I was younger. I just keep doing what I always did. And so I said, Bill, don't wake me. I'm not coming up at 4 o'clock in the morning. But anyway, I got up there about 5:30. And every morning, Bill's training calves. And I go, but Bill has great calves. Why is he doing that? And one day I said, Bill, why do you train calves every day? He says, well, listen, if I have great calves, it's because I train them hard. Every day.
That's what I have to do now. Train them every day.
He told me this. You can say it online. He did 10 sets of 10 reps every workout.
Oh, that's why I don't have calves. And on day 5, which is probably like the Friday or depends on how my schedule is, I do shoulders and triceps. And basically what I do for shoulders is dumbbell presses. I find it too difficult to do press behind the neck because it hurts my rotator cuff, and I've had major shoulder problems. So I find dumbbell presses, side lateral raises, and upright rows. That's all I do. And before I used to do side laterals, front laterals, these things that I never felt worked, I never know what I was doing, and never had any shoulders. And now I just do 3 exercises as heavy as I can. I do the side laterals, and I concentrate on doing them correctly. And if it gets heavy, I might start from the back and then come up like that. Or also I can do them on the cable. Those are kind of like a change up, either like the dumbbells or cables. Either one works just as well. And the other thing I do is upright rows. And what I found with the upright rows, and especially as a woman, I don't want to develop my traps from here, like, you know, the guys that do shrugs and everything. That's great. But as a female bodybuilder, I don't want to have neck way up here. So what I find with the upright rows, yes, I do need traps, but I need traps from the back. Like, so visibly, like if you do back double biceps, you can see the traps from here. So what I found that works well for me is the upright rows. So you just simple upright rows. I was talking to a gentleman from one of the gyms I've been training at recently, and they said that studies have come out that upright rows, the bar, is not very good for you. So he suggests that I do dumbbells, and I actually did dumbbells and actually found them great. I was actually, you know, I'm old school, I'm not going to change, and I actually did the dumbbell upright rows, and they were really, really good. And that I find with the dumbbells, you get front delts, you get side delts, you get rear delts, and traps. So those 3 things I do as heavy as I can, and that's it for shoulders. And from that, I've been able to develop not Linda Murray shoulders, but Laura Carvalho shoulders, right? So it's a lot better than it was.
One of the things with the upright rows, I found this more recently, so and, you know, most people do the upright rows with the grip like this. And what do you find? I find it hurts.
It hurts the wrist.
Right? So what I've done with most of my clients and myself, I've moved the grip out a little wider, and that gives me a lot of ease in doing the movement, and also does what you said. It transfers a lot of the work right into the lateral deltoids and back here. Because you don't want to have a woman come on stage and she looks like she just competed against Ed Cole. You saw Ed Cole walking around.
You see, you know, they're doing all this.
You don't want that.
So, no, I really don't believe in...
There's one of the things that's still there that people forget. And it's still in the rule book today, and Bill Pearl knows that I helped write the IFBB rule book that you guys were judged for with in your competition. It says in the rule book, you are presenting a feminine physique. You know, we all try to be so politically correct today. We can't say this, we can't say that. What about the feminists and all this stuff? Well, you know what? It's female bodybuilding. It's not male bodybuilding. You still got to maintain that feminine physique. You can build it as big as you want, but it's got to be symmetrical. And people get confused with that because they might see one lady might win a contest and say, boy, she was the biggest in the show. That's why she won. No, it's not why she won. She won because she had good muscles and she was symmetrical. And she didn't look like crazy, you know?
And the last thing I do would be, would be triceps on the same day that I do shoulders. On triceps, I do cable push downs, and I like to do it with a rope because I find that with the triceps, there's 3 heads. And if you have the regular straight bar and you push down, for me, I only feel it in 2 of my heads. With the rope, you hold it on the angle and you extend all the way down and you lock out. So you keep them close to your body and lock all the way out, and you feel it all the way where, you know, like most women, even if they're skinny, they get that goodbye arms. So to really make sure you get it all the way in there, you have to lock the weight all the way out. If you have just a regular bar and you go down, you don't feel it quite so far up in there. And then after that, I would... Okay, go ahead.
So this is really important because I see it a lot in the gym, you see it a lot. And I see these ladies, some of them that just came to the gym, just joined, and they're using rope. Well, they shouldn't be because they haven't even learned to tricep press down here. But don't you see this all the time? Okay, there's a lot of wrist action, but what about what Laura just talked about? What about the full contraction where you do get the third head and the tricep right inside into the deltoid? They're not getting that. And they go, oh boy, look at them. Like Laura says, I usually have to look away.
Right, don't look.
And from that, I'd go on to, if I do the cable push, then I'll do the reverse, where the cable's behind, and I'll just lean slightly over, and I'm extending. The same thing, all I'm doing is bending at the elbows. So it's there, and just extend. There, and extend. Sometimes you can even do it if you have the cable from the bottom. It's a similar idea. You sit on the...
Go back to that. That's so important. Just notice how the, when she does that, the upper arm is actually mobilized and just the forearm's moving, so you get the full extension. There's none of this stuff.
Right,
right, and not a lot of, movement. You're there, you're locked, and you're locked. And then after that, I would do dips. I'm very weak. My triceps is very weak. And I teach a lot of people to do this, and they're actually, when they do it, they're surprised at how hard it is. The dips with the 2 benches, but make sure the closer you bring your arms together, the harder the exercise is. If your arm is way out here and they're pointing this way, you can do like 1,000,000 reps. But if you try to keep your elbows like right under your butt and straight back, and you do these, you can have another bench and you come down and just go straight back up. Not way out here where it's a lot easier. Your body's very close to the bench, and you're there, and you push, lock, always lock up. And lock out all the way to the top, down, lock all the way out. So you're down, and you lock out. If I'm here, I can do them forever. It's hard. You put someone there, and you put the arms together, like, oh my God, it feels like a million pounds. So, okay, if you first start and you can't do them, and you have to do them wide, good. But this is how you add your own resistance. You start here, and you can do like 10, and then as you've been doing them for a few months, 3 months, whatever, you start getting stronger, you move them closer. You start getting stronger, you move them closer. After that, you have someone push down your shoulders.
It's the same principle that she's using, because whether you're doing them seated like that, or you're doing the tricep press down, or you're using the dumbbell, and then you've got to keep that elbow up there. If your elbows are coming up like this every rep, and you're not doing the exercise wrestling, you've got to stay up there. Same thing when you're doing the bent over extension. I see a lot of people doing this. What they're doing? We're not doing anything here. Get that elbow up there. Now we're doing something.
Bend up the elbows. That's all you're doing. Right. So that's pretty much my workout. Most of the exercises, 6 to 10 repetitions, 2 to smaller body parts, 2 sets, larger body parts, 3 sets. What I wanted to do a little bit, since I'm honored to be presenting a seminar with Winston, and Winston is one of the okay-ish judge for IFBB. He hasn't given me first place yet, so he's okay-ish. I know I've spoken from yesterday and today, I've spoken to some of the girls here, and I know some of them are getting ready for competition. With all this that we said, how to create a symmetrical physique, you can have a symmetrical physique, but if you can't present it on stage, all your work kind of went in vain. So can I get a volunteer that I want to show you like how to accentuate your positives, and how, if you have weaknesses, how you can kind of hide them. My very first Miss Olympia, I was amateur, turned pro in the World Championships, and 1 week later, I think it was a month later, I had to do the Miss Olympia. I walked on, and so it's a total different world. So I came from the amateur shows where everybody gets seen, and I'm doing Miss Olympia, and there's a large crowd of people. There's like I think it was like 20 or 30 girls competing. So the head judge came and he says, everybody, when you go on stage, walk on stage, and you walk on and file on and stand to the side. Okay, my first Miss Olympia, I'm standing next to Corey. and next to Winston's ex-girlfriend, which was like Joy Nichols, 6 foot, these 2 trees on top of me, and we walked on stage, and everyone walked on, and I'm standing. I stood the whole show. Come to realize that when they said turn aside, Corey's standing next to me, and she's like this. And Joy's on the other side like this, because Winston taught her. Nobody taught me. I was lost, and I'm standing there like this. So when they're looking for, as Winston said, the bottom 10 to put me in a position, they called me up for comparison, and then I hit my abs, and then they saw that, wow, this girl's in shape, and then I started moving up. But they, you know, I didn't know. I was relaxed. I was standing to the side. I was doing what I was told. And then finally, then they go, well, by the time we saw you, it's too late. You know, because they've already made their scores, and they go, oh, geez, that girl looked good. Well, you know, too bad. She'll be back. And I keep coming back and back and back. But, so I wanted to help. You're doing a show, right? Coming up. Okay. Let's go through well, first we'll start with the relaxed round. So you're on stage.
Which is not relaxed at all.
Okay. Okay, stand to front. Okay, quarter turn to your right. Your other right. No, I'm just kidding. Bodybuilders never know which is the right. Okay, I have to be over here so I can see you. Okay, quarter turn to your right.
Okay, hold on a second.
No, wait.
Okay, sorry.
I got you.
Okay.
Quarter turn to your right. Quarter turn to your right. Quarter turn to your right. Okay, relax. Okay, first of all, you want to relax. You want to flex, right? You want to look big, but you don't want to look too big. So you're almost over-posing now, right? So what you're trying to do is you stand, you know, you have your legs, everything is flexed, stomach in, you're pulling right chest up, and you're pulling straight up from there. Okay, flex your lats. Okay, and relax your arms. She looks like she's leaning.
Well, you see, the thing is, when you're in this position, the relaxed positions, you're going to look relaxed, but you're not relaxed at all. If you do this,
you don't look relaxed.
And you don't look relaxed.
Right, so you have to
this
relax.
Is actually the wrong thing.
Right, exactly.
What you want to do, you keep your arms here, and you, like the Lord says, you bring the chest up, and you learn to widen the lats. No, I didn't say widen. Okay? Bring the chest up again, then you bring the lats up, but bring the shoulders forward, not the arms. And then you keep your arms tense so that your bicep and everything shows, but just tense, just like that.
That's it? So that's it. You're just there and just looking relaxed. I'm gorgeous, I look lovely, and fingers is not squeezed. Relax. This does not say that you're relaxed. That says you're relaxed. Quarter turn to your right. Okay, now you're perfect. That's better. So one of the things most of the girls, you know, okay. So the way I think is you're there. Quarter turn to your right. You're there. You bring your arms in. So this doesn't look like, you know, most people they turn it like this. Well, it's all an illusion. Then you know you look like you're flying away. So this just that looks good. Quarter turn.
The whole point here is the way we look at it, okay, as judges, is we do not want to see your right arm.
Right.
Technically, you can be penalized for that. So you've got to keep the arm here. You know, you've got to tense it so you keep it back, like Laura does it. And so it's tense, and this is okay, even though technically speaking, according to the rule book, you should be like this. But that's okay. You have to learn to push the envelope a little bit.
Right. Because you're
like
actually.
Columbus said to Muhammad, when you're on stage, you're in with 10, 15 other competitors. You got to learn what edges there are. For instance, if you're standing in front here, okay, go back to the front. If you're here, okay, you have 10 competitors lined up.
Okay.
Here's the trick that you can use. You may get penalized. Just excuse yourself. Step forward a half a step. Just go step forward a half a step. Hey, guess what? Illusion, you look a little bigger, a little better, because we're in the background. These are just little tricks, okay? So then you can turn. When you turn, Quarter turn. Good. Keep this on, keep it tight. And this one, the reason that you're keeping it back like this is you want to show the lads that you did what Laura talked about. We want to see that shape coming down from the tiny waist. If you turn too much, you're going to look wide here. So you got to stay there, keep flex, and make sure that your leg bicep straight, and you want to see that you know what, right? Glutes.
Quarter turn to your right. Okay, now when you're back, you want to bring your lats out. That's good.
So here's a little trick when
hamstrings, everything tight. Go ahead.
Here's a little trick when you're in this position. As Laura knows this very well. What are you keeping tight to make your back look good?
Lats. And well, the abs is tight all the time.
Tight all the time. But the more you tighten the abs, the better your back is actually going to look.
Okay, quarter turn to your right. Don't fly away. You're flying away. Wait a minute. This arm. You're flying. That's it. Suck your stomach in. Quarter turn to your right. What's those fingers? Okay, you're falling over.
Laura alluded to this a minute ago. Remember that your judges are never on the same level the way you are here. The judges are usually 6 feet, 4 to 6 feet lower. So what you've got to do actually, you know when you see the pictures in the magazine that look like they're doing this? They're not doing that. It's just that the photographers are down here. So what you need to do is actually lean over towards the judges, but then the better profile. So when you do your double bicep, if you get to that, you actually, where's Milos? Is he here? He does it the best. He gets up there and he leans over like this. He's almost falling over into the judges. He looks better.
Okay. That's better. And then you smile. You have to remember to smile. Don't say the day to show you to smile because you're going to be so nervous you'll forget to smile. Okay, do that again. Quarter turn to your right. Fingers, good. Quarter turn to your right. Great. Quarter turn to your right. That's it. Quarter turn to your right. Good. That's...
As Laura said, you see the lats in the back, but then you come to the front and you go, what happened to those great lats? They're gone.
Okay. Relax. Okay, we'll run through some mandatories. Double biceps, because I know we're running late. Very nice.
But remember that leaning over a little bit. Because if you're leaning, if you're straight up, the judges are looking this way, they don't really see the arm. So you actually have to lean over a little bit and actually turn the arm a little bit over this way. Look what Laura does. Look at this.
No, please, I don't have no vacuum right now.
See? See?
So you just over and...
Yeah, just go over just that, just enough. There's no awkward, but you're just giving the judges that little bit.
And side chest. Go ahead, judge. I can't see.
You know, like Laura said, they're looking at the physique, the entire physique all the time. It's side chest, but we're not just looking at chest. This leg should actually be straight because we want to see what's going on back here. Okay, we want to see the calf. Again, Milos is great at this. Milos will actually get up a bit on the calf in the back here so that the calf will split. So you want to show the leg, you want to show that, you want to show the butt, and then these are usually forgotten. Laura is great at that. When you do the side chest, front, the intercostal, let them stand up.
That's good. Okay, side triceps. Any side. Go ahead.
Again, the same thing. We don't even care 2 moves, not even 3 moves. I don't care 1 move about the tricep. It's just the name. But what we're looking at, we're looking at the abdominals, we're looking at the rib cage. This should be in. The rib cage should be out. Again, we're looking down here to see what the calf is. We want to see the deltoids. We want to see the trapezius as well.
Okay, back double bicep. And you want to flex, make sure you flex your calves, hamstrings, everything. Good.
So many people forget to flex.
Same thing. Remember, we're looking from the bottom up, so you want to make sure you're like almost leaning backwards a little.
And there's a little trick about the double bicep here. Jimmy Caruso was a great photographer of bodybuilding. I don't think there's still anybody better than he was. If you just plant the arms just a little bit back and really get the tension going here. And keep it wide. Don't punch them up till you get more muscles. You won't. Like Arnold said, you got to open up. You got to open up. Okay? So keep them wide, keep them under pressure. And don't forget the
Hamstring is very important. Always start
with that. Start from the bottom. They bring it up to press. They know they're solid. They keep them and don't forget.
Right, otherwise you forget. And the last pose, abs and thighs. All right. Where's your legs? Everything has to look pretty. If you're there doing this, it's always this. It's all shape. It's everything. What I do, I grab the back of my bathing suit. You know, you wear ties, and I pull from there, and I literally come sort of lean backwards. And when I pull down, and I push all the way around, then I'm level. Because if I start here and I start squinching down, I'm going to be too far down. So if I start and I want to stretch all the way through my lats, so you're feeling, all your intercostals and everything coming. If you're there, your intercostals is not going to be as good. If you're way back, have your elbows nice and high, and you're there, and you just, then all the intercostals, everything will come in.
Go backwards. Do you see a fundamental difference between
legs? And you have to, it's abdominals and thighs. So you have to, some people, they can lock their thighs, it looks better like that. Some people bring it up. Whichever looks better on you. For me, if I click down, I lock it, then release it.
You've got to know what looks better.
And if your legs look better over there or forward or whatever, but it is an abdominal and thigh pose, so you have to show the judge, okay, there. One thing I had that was very good, and my little routine for doing abs was my intercostals. So I'd start with my intercostals, and I'd do legs, and I'd switch legs, and then hit the pose. So they've seen my legs, but my legs is never really striated, but so I'm trying to, finagle the judges and like let them forget about my legs. So I do all this stuff, and there, and then over, and then hit, and all they see is my abs, and they forgot that my legs are not quite. Maybe it's cut to the other girl next to me. So just a little tricks to help you kind of, get the little edge.
In that pose, if you do that again, just put your arms up there. One of the things that the judges see, it's like you've got the shape.
Right.
If you've got the big shape.
Everything comes down to the V.
You've got to really consider, you've got to have those lats out there. You've got to bring them out to get that V. Yeah, you feel it. And you know what? One of the things that some of the bodybuilders do, I remember Tina Baxter was good at this. She would actually do, like Lauren said, you got to use what you got. She would actually do, you would actually do bicep right here.
Right. So then hit it. Right. So if your abs are not great, right? So you do that, and then if your legs are not in shape, you kind of do like all the sexy stuff and just get them a little, And they're like, whoa, that's a nice pose. They don't know that, everything was kind of smooth. And if your legs are too smooth, then you just jiggle it a lot. And they think that's pretty cool, too. Okay, very good. Good job. Any questions before we wrap up? Yes. Do I do? Yes, I do. I'm actually now located. Did you get one of my cards? I have an email address and everything. And I'm right here in Toronto now. I'm back home after 20 years. I just do regular training, yeah. Because I'm still trying to, especially now that I'm competing, I'm trying to put back on some muscles. If after I decide this is my last competition and I'm just trying to, maybe tone down and lose like a little bit of muscle and stuff, I would do a little more circuit training to kind of like, Oh, do I do circuit training with my clients? Oh, yeah, absolutely. I hate to say this right now, because I've been a fat pig for a long time and I've been lazy, I've been putting off dieting, and I've been cheating on my diet a lot. So I only have 5 weeks, so I have to do what I have to do to get in shape in 5 weeks. So now I'm doing 2 hours of cardio. I do an hour in the morning, an hour at night, but hey, it's my fault. I waited so late. Usually if I'm good and like I should have been and started dieting 4 months ago, all I would have had to do was half an hour every day. I mean, or like 5 times a week. Right. But now, because I have to see the weight coming, I have no choice. I mean, it's not a healthy way to do it, but unfortunately, you know, I don't want to go on stage being fat. So, well, for me, I'm going to be lightweight. So once I'm 135, 130, I just want to look cute and little on stage. To me, this year, I don't care if I win. I just want to look good. I want to look like the fitness babes. Because they don't shoot female bodybuilders anymore in the magazine, so... And if I win, it's not really a great honor. Right, there's nothing. Muscle and Fitness will not shoot female bodybuilders anymore. You're right. I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. And what do you consider high reps? No, I don't. I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't believe that.
You know, if you're a certain genetic type, like people like ᴅᴇᴜᴜᴜ is, as somebody said before, someone else, ᴅᴇᴜᴜ is frequency. It doesn't matter what it does, it's not the problem. Okay? If you haven't been that type, then it doesn't matter. But 100 reps, you won't be.
No. No, it's a combination. Training is training, and so they say if you do 100 reps, you can eat a ton and ton and ton more, and it would make you bigger. It doesn't work like that. I would like to weigh 135 or under, because I want to be lightweight. I'm not going with those big girls. Linda Murray's coming back, and all the big girls are up there. I'll leave it to them. I just want to be the... Thank you. Thank you very much. Any other questions? Yes. Me personally, chin-ups I like. I'm so bottom heavy that I can't even get up to the bar. So it's very difficult. If I have a spot, I'll have someone spot me. But the chin-ups is a great exercise. I've never really done much push-ups, but then because I never really had much of an upper body strength. But for what I'm doing already for chest, I feel that's enough.
I'm just going to stop it right there just for a second. You guys can keep on asking questions afterwards, but on behalf of the group, on behalf of Swiss, I'd like to thank you both for coming out.
Thank you, thank you. And thank you guys for staying. And if you guys have any other questions, I'm going to be outside for a little bit. Tomorrow I'm going to probably come in the morning, so if anybody wants to come, I know a lot of times in a seminar you have a lot of questions and you don't want to ask it in public, so I'm here for you guys. So I'll be here tomorrow morning also, so if anybody have any questions, and I'm here locally. If you guys want, you can get my card, call me, email me, and if you forget, it's www.ᴅᴇᴜᴜ.com.